Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We are here in our second conversation for this morning, and it's all about sustaining the future of aviation. We have joining us the Director of the Belize Department of Civil Aviation, Mr. Nigel Carter. Good morning.
Good morning.
And State Safety Program Coordinator, Ms. Imelda Bautista Guerra. Good morning.
Good morning.
And the Deputy Director of the Belize Department of Civil Aviation, Mr. Stanley Gideon. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, we're kind of having a brief chit chat on the sustainability aspects of aviation, but it is all surrounding International Aviation Day.
Correct.
So let's start with this date, Mr. Carter, and then we'll move on to the rest of the
Sure.
topic.
So every December 7th, we celebrate International Civil Aviation Day. This year, that is no different. We plan to conduct a whole week of activities. We want to have what is referred to as a safety awareness week. As opposed to just keeping it to one day, we wanted to expand a little bit. We wanted to ensure that we make the Belizean populace and the Belizean public aware of what aviation is, how aviation contributes to Belize. You may know that insofar as tourism accounts for about 50 to 60% of GDP of Belize. And while that number is extremely high, we like to tout that aviation is one of the pillars of tourism. So about 80% of all passengers that come to Belize, they get on an airplane and move from one place to the next. And so you could obviously see the importance of aviation in Belize. But unfortunately, a lot of us, we don't really understand how aviation functions. It happens in the background most of the time. And so we wanted to take an opportunity to bring it to light. We feel that communicating a little bit of what aviation is will lead to more awareness, more safety awareness, people understanding a little bit more. During the last hurricane, for instance, the last tropical storm that passed Belize, for instance, we put out a couple of press releases, and we did ask that the public maintains calm, patience, because there would be delays. A lot of the time, people just want to get on an airplane and they move from one place to the next, irrespective of what the weather is like. You know, there are many things that you could encounter on an airplane that are generally caused from the wind. There's reduced visibility, there's turbulence, extreme turbulence, and so forth. So there's a lot of impact to aviation from these weather systems. And so it's safer to keep the airplanes on the ground for that period of time. And so generally we try to ensure what we want from the public is just their patience to understand that there may be delays in flights, there may be cancellation of flights and so forth. So again, this week is geared towards some public sensitization so that we can continue to make it safer now. We, insofar as safety and sustainability, the department has several strategic objectives. In aviation safety, obviously we want to make skies safer. It's done through the implementation of new rules, continued capacity building, as well as technological advances. There is the increase or making skies more secure. There's a difference between safety and security. So obviously, security is at the airports. We look at ensuring that, again, three basic pillars: capacity building, technology, and policies. So we want to ensure that the security officers at the airport are well trained. We want to ensure that the equipment continues to be modern and up to date. I think you would see that the folks at the international airport have installed new X-ray machines at the different checkpoints and so forth. So these are continued advances that are being done now. Insofar as governance, we strive to ensure that we continue to make working with the industry more efficient, because the introduction of the new technologies, the introduction of more aircraft and so forth, they all lead to safer skies. So we try to do it in a way that is sustainable.
Let's get Stanley in on the conversation here. As a pilot, you've logged quite some flight time and some hours. In your point of view, how has civil aviation grown in Belize?
Believe it or not, we have grown tremendously. When I first started out flying, imagine Municipal was a little 1,800-foot runway. It's now 3,100 feet of runway. The infrastructure, runways have started to improve. We have moved from a system where it was just reporting position. Well, now we have a secondary radar that allows us to aid the pilots in giving them situational awareness. Hopefully the capacity increase of the radar system, where we're trying to integrate weather, allows the air traffic controller. It's not completely down pat yet, but we're getting there. The level of equipment that we use now in aviation has grown significantly. When I started out, it was a thing called NDB, which uses radio frequency, believe it or not, AM frequency to help us guide us. And we're now moved from LORAN system, which was ground-based technology that we kind of siphon off the United States to global positioning satellites, which GPS. And the caravans that fly around here, a lot of them are being updated with the latest G1000, which gives the pilots some a great situational awareness of where they're operating, enhanced with autopilot systems and stuff like that. And what the department is hoping to do along the way is eventually we have a project where we want to integrate what we call highways in the skies that will network all these smaller runways that we use a lot with Dangriga, Placencia, Punta Gorda. Allow the pilots a way to fly in and out safely, and not in the days when I used to fly where you kind of 500 feet and you got a decent visibility of 2-3 miles and you're trying to get into your destination. But like I said, we have come a long way. The pilot training has significantly increased. Each company has a training program that they go into every 6 months, and they go into it with enthusiasm. So we're keeping the level of aviation here in Belize, amazingly, one of the best in the region.
Now you are a pilot and you understand all of the technical jargon that goes into civil aviation, and I could see how all of this definitely benefits those that are a part of the industry. But how, as a civilian, why should I care about International Civil Aviation Day?
That's an amazing question, because I could get into that for a very long time.
Please,
on this segment. But why you should be concerned and really appreciate what the department is doing and what the airlines are doing is that we have steadily increased the level of safety, where the confidence of the pilot, the confidence of the industry to get you from point A to point B without any incident or horror stories along the way. And I don't like to expound on that because of obvious reasons. But we have moved in such a direct, positive way that I think the flying public in Belize appreciate what the pilots do. We appreciate what the airline do to make sure that their equipment is safe to fly. And the department, of course, are regulators, but we try to be proactive. We don't want to be there with the hammer. We like to engage and be proactive in as much way to make sure that we get the word out that safety is our paramount, and we try to be very engaging. So again, from a passenger standpoint, it gives them the ease to know that when you jump on a plane in Belize, pretty much safe.
As these, sorry, go ahead.
So to boil it down a little bit more, let us take care of it, and you just need to be comfortable.
No, I won't be concerned the whole time. No, I won't be concerned the entire time I'm on an airplane. But that's just who I am as a person.
It is the safest mode of transportation.
Yes.
It is, but is it the most sustainable mode of transportation?
It is. It continues to be. And Ms. Bautista, who is our State Safety Program Coordinator, as well as our Environmental Protection Coordinator, could expound a little bit. But insofar as sustainability, we try to measure growth, obviously. The use of the caravan has been very successful in Belize. and we recognize that. So we continue to work with the airlines to ensure that they continue to use this type of aircraft with continued success in a very sustainable way. Insofar as sustainability, as Deputy Director Gideon was mentioning, we want to, from an environmental standpoint, the International Civil Aviation Organization, the aviation community, has agreed that we will have net zero carbon emissions by 2050.
Okay.
The baseline was set in 2019, so we used the carbon emissions from 2019, and we're saying that even though aviation will, at the very minimum, double by 2050, we're going to have the same amount of carbon emissions from aviation activities. And so we're sustainable in a safety way, in a financial way. We try to work with our industry to be sustainable in a financial way. The program that Deputy Director was mentioning insofar as putting the roads in the skies, it increases efficiency and sustainability by making more direct routes. So instead of having to navigate, we used to have a thing that as pilots we used to call it I follow road. You take off and you try to find a road and it'll help you get to Dangriga or where you want to go in bad weather. Now we want to create the direct routes, and so barring any significant weather phenomenon, you can fly direct from point A to point B. And you can see flying in a straight line is obviously more efficient than flying, than following the roads. So
quicker time, less fuel being consumed.
Exactly.
Right?
And guaranteed arrivals, because now you can get there, and the pilots can actually go lower because of the instruments that are on board the aircraft, and actually get in and have a successful flight. So they don't have to return when you can't see the runway in front of you.
Imelda, I wanted to get your intake on this and kind of expand a little bit on what Director is saying, because your title is State Safety Program Coordinator and Environmental Coordinator. When I didn't think hazardous environment, I do think airplanes. Sorry. It's a lot of fossil fuel.
Yes, so you may ask yourself what the State Safety Program is really about. So in aviation, this is a structured framework established to ensure the safe operations of a country's aviation and its airspace. It is designed to manage and to improve the safe operations, and systematically by complementing it with the safety standards that the international community sets out there.
Okay. So you work mostly with persons that are within the aviation.
Behind
the scenes. And how have persons taken in this information? I would imagine you have to give an update.
Actually, yes, it's a program designed, as mentioned, to manage, and the airlines are part of this program as well, but as a safety management system. So they will need to follow, like I mentioned, the safety standards. We develop policies, guidance materials for them to, keep improving aviation safety in the community.
In Belize, I know you're talking, Director, about tourism as one of the main ways that we utilize aviation in Belize, but cargo and other different forms of trade and so forth, private transportation, which is, I know that's not something big in Belize, but it does happen. When you're talking about the roads in the sky and so forth, how are we starting to navigate all of the traffic of all of these different ways that aviation comes into Belize?
Wow. So there is a national air navigation plan for Belize. And that national air navigation plan ties into regional air navigation plans and then global air navigation plans. Basically, we collaborate with what we refer to as adjacent air navigation service providers. So the next guy that's beyond our borders, we coordinate with them. And of course, the air navigation service provider that is above us. Through all of these collaborations, we ensure that we connect the airplanes from point A to point B. So there is seamless travel from Houston to Belize, no issues. The rules are all the same. We try to ensure that they're international standards that aircraft operators comply with. So when you take off from Houston per se and you fly over Mexico and then to Belize, the rules that they're following is pretty much the same. And they can ensure that obviously they're not breaking the rules, and then the safety standards are pretty much the same. Because if you're following one set of rules, for instance, if you're saying drive on the left, I'll break it down for you. If one country is saying drive on the left, the next one says drive on the right, then obviously you have opportunities for collision, right? So basically same rules, so that as the airplane moves from one place to the next, one air navigation service provider to the next, you have parity, and they know what to expect when they come in. Insofar as what are some of the other benefits, logistics, aviation plays a huge role in logistics. In Belize, I think we're seeing some of the airlines wanting to commit to dedicated cargo airplanes because they can see that they're moving so much cargo. So that's some of how aviation continues to contribute. And obviously moving the cargo from point A to point B does, again, makes tourism even more sustainable. It provides for fresh produce getting from point A to point B, for instance. You know, like you said, insofar as private aviation, there's not too much of that right now. But there is a community, and we continue to fulfill the needs of that community as well.
I ask these questions simply because every time a pilot or somebody from the tourism board always comes in, I always want to know why there are no direct flights to the Caribbean. And I would imagine that it's because there's a lot of rules and layout that has to go into this process, right?
I think direct flights to the Caribbean is I'll give you my perspective on it.
Okay.
Sure.
And I've shared it in meetings as well. A lot of what the Caribbean offers is pretty much the same. So what Belize offers, what Jamaica offers, what Bahamas offers. There's the beach destination, and then Belize, even though we have that rainforest type tourism as well. Usually, when a tourist because we're leisure type aviation. You go from point A to point B. You spend your week in that destination, and then you go back home. So there's not a lot of passengers that want to come from Jamaica to Belize to fill the airplanes. If you look at perhaps economies, population, and so forth, the level of business between Jamaica and Belize, for instance, or Bahamas and Belize, for instance, it's not that high, unfortunately. So you can't sustain that type of aviation activity.
Okay.
You understand? If there was a lot of tourism, and again, even when you jump on an airplane between the US and Belize, you find that the vast majority of persons on the airplane are tourists, right? And it's the same in many of these destinations as well. So if you can't get the tourists to go from Jamaica to Belize, from Bahamas to Belize, or from any Caribbean destination to Belize, you're not going to fill the airplanes. And if you can't fill the airplanes, it made no economic sense to the airlines, and so they're not going to provide for the destination. That's my personal view on it.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Very rational.
Yeah.
Point of view.
So let's go back to International Civil Aviation Day and the different ways that your department is celebrating and educating the public. What line of activities do you all have apart from just educating your personnel? Are there any plans to raise awareness for the general public?
Sure. So again, there's a lot of outreach that we want to do. We feel that educating everybody, we feel that it's important to inspire. So we're doing tours at different schools. I believe we have about 8 to 10 different schools that we have lined up that we'll be visiting with a team. And hopefully that team can inspire the youth to pick up a career in aviation. Also, we will send a safety message with that as well. So we will be doing that. We are also, we have a quiz competition. So for the primary schools, there's a quiz competition. We'll select 12 winners. Those 12 winners will get to experience aviation if they haven't already. So we've partnered with the local airlines, and they'll be offering some a tour of the Blue Hole. So you get out and see the Blue Hole on an airplane. We have, for the high schoolers, we have an essay competition as well. And so that's lined up. We are culminating in a safety seminar for the aviation industry.
Okay.
During that seminar, we'll discuss several matters that are important to aviation, search and rescue. So airplane goes down, how do you manage that situation, both from a searching aspect and the rescue mission afterwards. We want to share the work of NEMO and how NEMO will collaborate with the Department of Civil Aviation. In the event there is a large-scale accident, we will continue to discuss that so that we can grow the topic and try to ensure that we can take the best benefits from it. And then I think at the end we're going to be having a panel discussion, key members from the industry, talking about where aviation was, where we're going, what are some of the safety challenges that we're seeing in the future. So a lot of what the safety program is about being proactive about things. And so you have to be able to look ahead and understand where are the risks and try to ensure that you can mitigate those risks before they even show themselves. And that's why aviation is safe, and that's why you should worry about flying on an airplane.
The safest mode of transportation.
Safest mode of transportation.
I think that for my final question, we're talking about raising awareness and promoting education among the young people. Do we see people, applying to be pilots? I know. I think
you have
every
to go to flight
kid's
school first, right?
every kid's dream. I think that was like when I was 5. I want to fly a plane. You want to be able to do it, right?
We continue to see a steady stream of pilots coming into the country. So a lot of young Belizeans are starting to do that now. Traditionally, we had seen a lot of the younger pilots from either Belize City or San Pedro. Now we're seeing young pilots coming from all over Belize, from Corozal, Punta Gorda. I think the last I saw was even down in Stan Creek. And so we're seeing a lot of pilots come from all over the country now, and that is something of pride, because you're seeing that it's starting to impact Belize at a greater level. As I mentioned, aviation will double at the very minimum, and so we will continue to need those. Let's not forget that the schools now, I think St. John's Junior College now has an aviation management course that they're offering. And we've had other discussions with other schools as well that are interested in implementing aviation studies. So I think you're seeing more and more a desire to move to understand what aviation is and ensuring that persons can benefit from aviation. It's a very good source of income for people. Aviation jobs are not low-paying jobs. They're usually high-paying jobs. They're mid-range jobs.
That's what you meant to start with.
Yeah, I should have, right? But yeah, and so you're seeing a lot more interest in it. We should be hiring air traffic controllers. I'll put in a plug. We're accepting applications for air traffic controllers at the moment, and so very very soon we'll be hiring some more air traffic controllers. We're trying to look into the future, and we're seeing that flights are coming in later and later. So eventually we'll have to go to 24 hours air traffic control.
That was going to be my next question, because in Belize we have like a 8 to 5 almost, airport.
We're at 6 to 8 right now.
6 to 8 at night. Right? Yeah. So it's becoming this growing industry in Belize, where we'll have midnight flights at this point.
We'll get there.
For final words for our viewers, for the competitions, and for perhaps if they want an application form for the traffic
air traffic control,
where can they find all of this information?
So insofar as the quiz competition, essay competition, go to our Facebook page, Belize Department of Civil Aviation. You can find out how to apply. We've also sent out information to the schools, so the schools have that information. Insofar as applications, the government website is always available for you to make applications for those positions.
And final words on International Civil Aviation Day.
Wow, International Civil Aviation Day is a day of pride for us. We celebrate the signing of the Chicago Convention. The signing of the Chicago Convention basically established a harmonized set of rules for aviation, as I mentioned to you, moving from point A to point B. Aviation has come a very long way in Belize. I believe that we try to move everything forward. Wherever you find something, make sure that by the time you leave it in a better place. And we continue to strive towards that. That's generally what the team here and what our team does. We try to improve incrementally as much as we can. And I think International Civil Aviation Day is just an opportunity to look at that. We want safer skies, and we want to do it in a very sustainable way.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I hope that we get more information about International Civil Aviation Day on the day, right?
Thank you.
December 7th.
December 7th.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
this
Oh,
morning.
thank you. Appreciate it.
We are going to take another quick break. And when we come back, it's all about celebrating autism, celebrating spaces in all places. We'll be right back.